I think you're right in the environment, but I learned a lot from CrossFit for how to actually scale things and how the same movement and the same like really hard workout
Yeah.
much less intense.
Okay.
It's done a lot for what we currently think of fitness, and a lot of people are just doing like toned down versions of CrossFit, and
Yeah.
that's healthy in a way because they've taken the best of it and then they kind of made it maybe more appropriate for different populations. Now, ultimately, like CrossFit, the sport is like it's not meant to be healthy. It's meant to be like get this secondary effect of being like this beast of a physical specimen. But like like any sport, there's a lot of injuries that come with it, and there's
Mhm.
ones that are specific to CrossFit. Um, and just like there's a ton of ankle injuries in basketball and volleyball, right? There's concussions in football, right? So
Yeah.
injuries and labrum issues with kippings and stuff like that, and back
Yeah.
certain back issues because of the high volume of like Olympic lifts. But the sport of it is one thing, and I never understood the people would say, well, it's unhealthy. And then if you're looking at it as like a sport, then you look at every sport as injuries. But then there is the idea that like, okay, you write something on a board, right? Like a whiteboard. This is the
Yeah.
workout. To me, that's just a guide. So
Yeah.
and it's a bunch of like the exercises instead of them being like a specific protocol that you got to follow, they're
Mhm.
just categories. So if you say you have a workout, it's 5 squats, 10 push-ups, or now it probably would be 15 squats, 10 push-ups, 5 pull-ups. That's pretty common that you see because the pull-ups are the hardest and the squats are the easiest. Now you just did your squats. Even if the workout said you got to do like 225-pound back squat for the workout, like you just did your category of squats. You just did your couch squats,
Yeah.
right? Your push up is going to be maybe doing a downward dog into the top of a push up
Yeah.
or hands elevated. It's something you can do.
Yeah.
That's what you got to figure out. You don't do what the person next to you is doing. You figure out where within the category you can do. Your pull up would be if you have rings, you do ring rows. If you don't, then you can just lie on your stomach and pretend, to go through the movement. You can use bands. You can just hang on a bar. Like I think sometimes just breaking down the movement is really helpful. So like a pull up is eventually hanging and pulling and back to hanging. So
Yeah.
most anyone can hang on a bar with their feet on the ground,
Yeah.
and that's really then good for your shoulders. So it's just like, okay, there's your workout. Do 10 seconds hanging on the bar for every, or 5 seconds hanging on the bar for every rep, right? Or less, right? So 1 second for every rep. So it's 5 second. You know what I mean? Like you figure out how you want to do that, but it makes you start thinking about movements in more of a category kind of deconstruction standpoint. Like, how do I break this down so the thing that I can't currently do, I'm eventually able to do? Well, you
Yeah.
can't do it by not, you'll never get better by not doing it. Like, been introduced to the idea of the movement than not to introduce it at all. And then
Yeah.
I think the fun and what's really advanced fitness in some ways is just being able to figure out how to deconstruct all of these complex movements that are not invented by CrossFit. They're just other Olympic sports, Olympic lifting, powerlifting, gymnastics, running, all of that stuff. And then it's just like, okay, because this community is so huge, and so many different body types are doing it. It's just like, all right, well, it's become a way to, actually get better at teaching people that didn't think they could do something to do something, in my opinion. Well, that's,
Yeah.
that's really what it's done for me in my career. There, there is no right technique. There is what's your intent. And I think as long as the people who are doing the classes know, okay, like if say they're trying to gear more towards the sport, well, there's actually a different technique for doing high volume and like a kipping pull up looks like terrible form, but when you actually are efficient with it, you understand how it actually is much healthier if you're going to do a lot of value or a lot of volume than
Yeah.
doing like a strict pull up with the same amount of volume. So you can just argue like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that much volume, but if you look at it, I look at a kipping pull-up or kind of like a sloppy, like fast, high volume clean or jerk as the same idea as like a push press versus a strict press. So like a push press, you can do more weight, but you're also using less of like an isolated area. So by using your hips, it makes you have to use less arm. And by using less of this, then I can do more and I won't stress my shoulder as much. So although most people will do more weight with a push press, you can also use the idea of the push press to do more reps because you're not putting as much stress on any one area. Well, that's the same thing of what a kipping pull-up is. It's just like somewhere around the line, like people got that idea that like strict is right form. No, that's slow form for strength-based work.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do things for more reps, like you have to find a way to flow. Yeah. And flowing is best done reciprocally, both hands fixed. There's another way to flow, and you kind of have to find that. People will get hurt in the process of learning how to kick. And that's just one example of the things that like, you know, get people all revved up about bad form. But in the process, that's usually where people get hurt because you can kip yourself to a pull-up without actually getting a strict pull-up. But when you're strong enough to do several strict pull-ups and then you learn how to kick, it's just all on the same continuum. Okay. I mean, like I wouldn't have somebody push press heavy weight if they couldn't go through like a slow strict press, just because they need to understand when things are not moving as fast, like where you want to put your body. Is safer. It's slow is just better for learning at first. It's like when you're going heavy with the strict press, in some ways it's actually much more stress on your shoulder. So you can look at it in a similar way. If you were like doing like a loaded pull-up and you're going slower versus if you know how to do like kind of kip yourself up a little quicker, you might bypass some of the areas of impingement or issues. Just like you have to have a base first to be able to go through that continuum. But I don't think people look at it that way. They look at it as like, well, there's one right way to do a pull-up. There's one right way to do a push-up. And there's no, turn the volume up, turn the volume down, which doesn't fit with a lot of other movements, right?